Hey everyone, it's Nathan the Sin. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of NaNoRail TV. My name is Nathan. Today this is the 10-year movie tag. I haven't participated in one of these tags for a while. That's probably saying something. So since I haven't played one of these games in a minute or two, I decided to start my own movie tag. This is the 10-year movie tag. So basically the way this works is we're going to be looking at the last 10 years of movies and choosing the #1 movie from each year. Now this is my personal top 10 movies. So I'm not ranking the movies, but I'm just saying of the year 2008, my #1 movie was blank. Of the year 2012, my #1 movie was blank. And I will be doing that all the way up till 2018. And since 2018 is obviously not over yet, this will be my #1 movie of the year so far. This movie tag isn't as easy as one might think. First off, it takes a little bit of effort to look at what movies were released each year. And then from there, you have to choose your favorite movie of the year. And some years are especially hard because there were a lot of good movies released. But I have pulled together a list in my handy dandy Spider-Man book, and here is the best that I could come up with. My favorite movie for each year, starting in the year 2008. 2008, The Dark Knight came out. Do I need to say any more? The only movie that is a runner-up, I would say, is WALL-E, because that is a great Pixar movie. The year 2009 also had a good pick of movies, but for me it was pretty easy to choose Fantastic Mr. Fox. I love Fantastic Mr. Fox. It is such a unique movie, and it's really hitting at all age audiences. For a movie that's based off a children's book, it's not really geared at only children. I mean, I'm in my 20s and I adore this movie. 2010 was one of the hardest years for me to choose a #1 movie because 2010 was just an amazing movie, amazing year for movies. Let me just list off a few of the ones that I loved. You've got Inception, Toy Story 3, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, all my Harry Potter fans out there. Tangled, one of my favorite Disney movies. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, The Social Network, How to Train Your Dragon. There were so many good movies released in 2010. I feel like the top two for me would be Social Network and Inception. I'm gonna have to give it to Inception though. Inception is one of my favorite movies of all time. It has stuck with me, and although it's almost 10 years old, gosh, I can't believe that. It is almost 10 years old. That's crazy. But Inception is still, to this day, one of my all-time favorite movies. Now moving on to 2011, another great year for movies. We had Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, The Help, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. You guys know how much I love the Planet of the Apes movies. There were so many great movies. Midnight in Paris, Warrior. But the one that I'm going to have to choose for my #1 would have to be Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. I have such good memories of seeing it, the midnight premiere, back when they did midnight premieres. I feel like these days they just have like a 7 o'clock premiere on the Thursday, and it's just not as fun as it used to be. But back when they did midnight premieres, I was at this premiere. There were people dressed up, they had their wands, they had their Hogwarts cloaks on. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 was released the summer before I started my freshman year of high school. I almost look at Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 as just a farewell to my childhood because I grew up with these movies. I love Harry Potter. My #1 movie for 2012, it was between Life of Pi and The Dark Knight Rises, but I'm going with The Dark Knight Rises. I love The Dark Knight Rises, and it's the second movie from the Nolan trilogy to be included on this list. FYI, if I were to include 2005 on this list, Batman Begins would not be my #1. It would be Cinderella Man. But anyways, back to 2012. The Dark Knight Rises was an amazing conclusion to such an epic trilogy. I understand that there are a lot of mistakes with it. They don't bother me. I look at this movie as very rewatchable, and it doesn't get boring. It's a 3-hour movie, nearly 3 hours, and I love it. 2013 also had its fair share of movies. The ones I want to highlight are Gravity, Hunger Games: Catching Fire, and Fruitvale Station, and Prisoners. But the one I'm going to have to give the #1 pick to, it's probably a little shocking, but I'm going to go with Catching Fire because Catching Fire meant so much to me during my high school years. More so the Hunger Games series meant so much during my high school years. It's almost as if Harry Potter was pre-high school and then Catching Fire was during high school. Both YA series that just mean a lot to me. And so for that nostalgic reason, I have seen Catching Fire fairly recently, and when I watch it, it just takes me back to junior year of high school. I love that movie. And so while I recognize that Gravity, Fruitvale Station, Prisoners, those are all better movies than Catching Fire, probably from a critic's standpoint, personally, I like Catching Fire. The year 2014 was one of the best years for movies, not only in the last decade, but of all time, in my opinion. We had so many incredible movies released this year. Let me name a few. I'm pulling out the Spider-Man notebook again. Interstellar, amazing. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, X-Men Days of Future Past, The Imitation Game, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America Winter Soldier, Edge of Tomorrow. There were just so many good movies from the year 2014. I absolutely love that year so much. The hardest pick, probably of this whole entire list, was whether or not to name Interstellar or Dawn of the Planet of the Apes as my #1 movie from the year 2014. But I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Interstellar, because Interstellar still holds up as one of my favorite movies of all time. It was a movie that I knew little about going into it. I watched it and I walked out just mind blown. If you've seen it, you either love it or hate it. Hopefully you'll love it. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why you haven't seen it yet, because it is just a masterpiece. The year 2015 for me was decent. It was a good year. There were no crazy movies that stood out to me. I mean, for this one, it was a toss-up between Creed and Star Wars The Force Awakens. I'm going to go with The Force Awakens, though, because of the build-up to it, the anticipation that I had to see that movie. And when I saw it, I wasn't disappointed either. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and so watching that movie just meant a lot to me. But I do also really like Creed. And the year 2016, this one's an easy #1 for me, but I'm going to quickly give an honorable mention to 10 Cloverfield Lane, because I love that movie so much. It's just one of those rewatchable movies for me that it doesn't really get boring to me. My #1 pick for this year is obviously La La Land. If you have seen any of my previous videos on my channel, then you know why I love this movie so much. I've mentioned it a lot. I hate when people say that it's a bad movie because they float, or because they don't end up together at the end of the movie. I'm sorry that you didn't get the cliche movie ending that you get in every other movie you watch. And to people out there who even compare this to The Greatest Showman, whoa, yeah, not even comparable. The Greatest Showman is a cheesy, family, fun movie that is just corn-filled from beginning to end, whereas La La Land is just a cinematic art piece. It is so beautiful, and I probably sound really nerdy right now, so I'm going to move on to the year 2017. It's an easy pick for me. It's War for the Planet of the Apes. Finally, one of the Planet of the Apes movies make it to the #1 spot on my list. 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes was beat out by Death Yells Part 2. 2014's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was beat out by Interstellar. But 2017's War for the Planet of the Apes definitely gets #1, because there's not any other movie that made me feel the same way that War for the Planet of the Apes made me feel. Wow, so many apes die in this movie. And the setting to the movie and the way that they also set up future ape movies, it just pays off perfect. It's a farewell to a beloved character that we have grown so close to. The way they send off Caesar's trilogy is perfect. And I am in love with this movie. War for the Planet of the Apes is a masterpiece. Now, the year 2018. I think that this year has been a pretty good year for movies so far. I'm gonna say A Quiet Place and Incredibles 2 stand out to me most, but they're not my #1s. Avengers Infinity War is definitely my #1. It's maybe not the best movie that's come out this year, but I can't deny the fact that it's my favorite movie that I've seen this year. But maybe that will change. We still have another 5 months to go this year. Now on to the fun part, tagging people to do this movie challenge. I'm going to tag 5 people. If you do the video, I invite you to also tag another 5 people. Let's get this movie tag going through movie YouTube world. I want to see what people's #1 movies are for each individual year over the last decade. And so if you're tagged, please make a video. If you don't, then screw you, man! Totally kidding. If you don't make a video, no hard feelings, but it was a fun movie tag. Plus, to those who make top 10 movies of the years, I make those too. I don't post videos about it, but I make those personal lists, and I see that as I watch a movie more than once, and as time has passed, my #1s have changed. So, who knows? Maybe your #1 has changed since the last time you looked at it. So, the people I invite, I'm going to invite Down to Movie, Everything Movies, Cinephile Nick, Talk Movies with Us, and FK Vlogs. You guys have been tagged to do the 10-year movie tag, and yeah, make sure that you do it. Looking back on the last 10 years of movies, I'm going to have to say that 2010, 2011, and 2014 were the best 3 years of the last decade. I said this earlier, but 2014 is one of my favorite movie years of all time, if not my favorite. And feel free to let me know what your favorite movie year was out of the 10 years. And also, it's an open invitation, and so if I didn't mention your name, please feel free to still make a movie tag video, because regardless, I would love to see your favorite movies of the last 10 years. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to NaNoRail TV. We'll see you next week.